The advice and opinions expressed by the host of Autism Live and her guests are meant solely as suggestion and should not be in any way construed as child-specific advice. The Center for Autism and Related Disorders advises working with a board-certified behavior analyst who has experience with autism before starting any intensive behavioral intervention. Any choices you make in determining your child's treatment are completely at your own discretion.
Good morning and welcome to Autism Live. I'm Shannon Penrod and we're coming to you live from the Warner Center in Woodland Hills, California. This is the home for Autism Live. It is also the home for the Center for Autism and Related Disorders. We're very excited on this Thursday morning. We got a big show for you, and normally we do a whole big long jargon thing at the start of the show. We're going to shorten it because I've got a guest here that I cannot wait to bring on the show. Coby Byrd is here with us, and he's been on the show, I think it's 4 or 5 times now. So if you're watching the show on a regular basis, you've seen Coby before. But this is the first time that we're having Coby on after guest starring on The Good Doctor on Monday. And what an exciting thing. We're going to talk about this with Coby, about what it was like for him. His dad is here to talk about what it was like to be on set in Vancouver with his son. Coby is on the spectrum, 15, and he played a 15-year-old on the spectrum. Now, let's just pause for a moment and feel the lusciousness of that, right? And all the barriers that Coby just walked through for all of us, and all the things that are now different than they ever were before. We're going to talk about all of that and much more, and kvel all over him, because wasn't he fantastic? He was incredible. So that's all coming up, and we've got other stuff on the show as well. It's a big show, so we want to get right to it. But before we do, remember that there are lots of different ways that you guys can participate with us, lots of different ways that you can watch the show, more today than ever before, thanks to our fabulous producer, Samantha. But remember that our homepage is autism-live.com. When you go there, there's a lot to do, but just click on the triangle that's on the computer screen and you can be watching the live show or the most recently recorded live show. To the side is something called the live feature. If you put your cursor in the box that says your comment, your question, all you have to do is type and hit enter. You don't have to log in. There's no username. There's no password. There's no credit card. There's no proving that you're not a bot. There's none of that. You don't have to remember what street you lived on as a child or what your mother's maiden name is. It's all free and it's available to you. Please put as much information as you can into the box, and you can spread it over several boxes, and tell us where in the world, like the closest major city, because all of the resources are not spread out evenly. So it helps us to know where you are in the world, okay? And I always like to remind you at the start of the show that while we'll have lots of experts from the field of autism on the show, I'm not one of them. I'm an autism mom, a very proud autism mom. My son was diagnosed at 2.5. He's now 14. And I'm so lucky because I got help and support at the right time. And that's part and parcel of what this show is about, is that we want to help you get to the resources that give you that support and the help that you need, whether you are a parent, a practitioner, you are a grandparent, you're a teacher, or you are the person that's on the autism spectrum. We know that there's things that you need, and it's not one size fits all. So write in, tell us what you need. Remember, I always say to you, we hold hands, we get through this together. Si se puede, right? Okay, so we do like to start Thursdays with something we fondly refer to as the jargon of the day, and we're gonna pedal through the metal through on this today. So today's jargon term, functional pretend play. We're bringing this up for a very specific reason. This is the last live show before Black Friday. And so you're probably going to go to the toy store and you might be looking for things to get someone in your life. We've got a guide that's going to be posted for you later on today or tomorrow. We're having trouble with the website, but it's coming. We've got some great ideas for you. But one of the things we wanted to talk about was functional pretend play. So let's look at what our actual definition of functional pretend play is. It's using lifelike objects in a purely functional, socially conventional way to imitate or act out common action sequences. Okay, now let's take a look at our working definition, see if we can shed a little bit more light on this. It's playing with toys that are lifelike in a lifelike way. So if you go to the toy store and you head down, you can always tell the aisle in the toy store that's functional pretend play because it's the one that adults look at and go, why would anybody want to play with that? It's vacuum cleaners and kitchen sets, and there's ways to wash dishes and wash clothes and hang them out on a line. Things that the rest of us are like, that's not fun. I don't want to do that. But the kids, that a lot of kids want to do it so that they can be like us, right? Well, our kids on the autism spectrum often not so much, because guess what? They look at it and go, that's work. Why would I want to do that, right? But there's an important thing that happens when we allow our kids to do functional pretend play and when we make it reinforcing. It's that there's a social element to all of it too, right? That, I'm vacuuming and I'm showing mom and dad that I know how to vacuum, and I'm a big person who's able to do and accomplish things. It all helps with development so that our skills skyrocket. So we don't want to let the functional pretend play go. We want to make sure that we get really reinforcing things to start with that are functional pretend play. Like the precursor to the vacuum cleaner is the little popper that they roll, and it's like a vacuum cleaner, but it goes pop, 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 and the little balls go. Yeah, it's all a master plan to get you to want to vacuum later on in life, right? So there are ways that we can make the toy reinforcing, or we can put a reinforcer on after they've played with the toy. Whatever we need to do to get them to have fun playing the toy, that's what we want to do. Because functional pretend play, you're going to see next week as we start to talk about what that builds on and how that gets to creative and imaginative and symbolic play. And then sociodramatic play, which is us taking on other roles. Don't leave this important step out. It looks boring to us, and a lot of times it looks boring to our kids, but do it. And it can be fun if we make it fun. Okay, our question of the day, you ready for this? Very timely, very topical, is what are you thankful for? Oh my gosh, how long of a list can we make, right? And I tell you, I think it's important. I've been reminded recently that it's important to do this every day, not just in the month of November, not just in the week of Thanksgiving, because when our brains are busy thinking what we're thankful for, they can't take as much note of what is wrong, right? What is wrong is always available. We can always stop back and visit it anytime we want to. But the truth is that we always have something to be grateful for. I'm grateful for my fabulous kid and how great he's doing. I'm grateful for my fabulous husband and how much he supports me. And I'm grateful that you and I can have a conversation in this way, and that I get to talk to so many of you in so many different formats, and to hear what's happening in your lives. I'm incredibly grateful for that. What are you grateful for? Write in on our Facebook and let us know, or you can tweet us. And of course, we always have a topic of the week. Our topic, I'm sure you can guess, this week is thankfulness. What are we all thankful for? What a wonderful thing to stop and take some time out. I'm just rushing through this because I want to get to the good stuff. So some of the things that are happening on today's show, as I mentioned, Coby Byrd is here. What an amazing young man he is, and I have no right to, but I'm so proud of him. I'm so proud of all the things that he has been doing, and we're going to talk about how hard he's been working. I know sometimes it's easy to look at somebody else and go, wow, did they get lucky? Well, you know that old phrase, the harder I worked, the luckier I got. Coby's working hard. And it's paying off for him in a big way, and we love that. So he's going to be here to talk to us about the wonderful episode 22 Steps that he was on Monday night of The Good Doctor and what that was like. His dad is here, and we're going to talk with him about what it was like to be on set of the #1 rated show with your kid who's on the autism spectrum in this very like, whoo, get it done kind of environment, if that was a little bit stressful, and what was super cool about it. Then a little bit later on, we got Bonnie Yates, special education attorney. We're going to be wishing her a very happy birthday because it was her birthday 2 days ago. She's going to be here talking with us and answering your questions. And then we've got a fabulous, fabulous interview with Jordan Kamnitzer and his girlfriend, Tony Kent. They are the subject matter of a lovely new short documentary that's called Perfectly Normal. You can watch it on the New York Times site right now to see it. It's so inspirational. They're so touching. You're going to love it. Absolutely love it. So all of that and so much more, but we're going to take a short break so that we can get Coby Byrd in here. Stick with us.
Hi, I'm Yvonne Johansson, and this is My Little House.
My Little House is an interactive, multi-sensory educational felt toy that I invented to help develop children's language skills.
I love My Little House.
I've been working as a speech therapist for over 20 years. I have spent my entire career working with young children. I work with children with language delays, and I have many children with significant cognitive disabilities and children on the autism spectrum. It has been a constant challenge finding toys that are fun, educational, and actually engage my students. In every preschool, since I've been a young therapist, we carry on these felt boards. Kids love them because they're soft and they're fluffy, and there's usually these little pieces that attach to these boards because felt sticks onto felt. You bring them into the activity because they're putting a piece on the board. So it's almost kind of like magic. So then I just thought, wouldn't it be great if I could just take this one-dimensional board and make it into an actual three-dimensional toy? How cool would that be?
That's the idea behind My Little House. You can spread it out flat like a 4-panel felt board, or here's the cool part. In the blink of an eye, My Little House easily converts into a 3-dimensional reversible house.
This is the outside. This is the inside.
My Little House comes with 36 felt cutout pieces that match outlines in 8 colorful rooms. And they're felt, so they stick. Each piece inside My Little House has been placed with purpose.
For instance, in the kitchen, whole, half, under, on top, inside, big, bigger, and biggest, empty and full, circle, triangle, inside, outside.
Really cool thing, I have a nonprofit, Lecotech. They are the folks that put out the Differently Able Guide for Toys R Us. They've been doing it for 25 years. They gave me their seal of approval as a toy that they feel is a toy with purpose, and that will make a difference. But My Little House isn't just for kids on the spectrum or with significant disorders. It's also for typically developing 2 to 5-year-olds. It's a fun toy.
Oh, this is so soft. That piece goes.
Recently, I took My Little House to the American Speech and Hearing Association convention in Philadelphia, and the response from my peers was overwhelming. Hundreds of therapists, teachers, and heads of school districts wanted to order them.
It was real validation for me that this truly is a toy that needs to get out there.
Hi, I'm Shannon Penrod. I'm a proud autism mom, I'm a former educator, and I am the host of Autism Live. And as all 3 of those things, I want to recommend to you My Little House. This is one of the smartest toys I have ever seen for teaching language to kids who have emerging language. Whether they're on the autism spectrum or completely neurotypical, it's a great, fun, reinforcing toy, but it's especially great for our kids that are on the autism spectrum because it makes learning fun and it makes it tactile. They have these felt shapes and they get to match them up. And I'm telling you, even the adults love to play with this. We loved this toy so much that we wanted to be able to bring it to you at a great discount. So right now, if you will go to www.smartfelttoys And when you get to the coupon code, put in a-live.com, you'll get $5 off. Isn't that great? So I want to encourage you, go and get My Little House for all the kiddos in your life. Welcome back to Autism Live. We're so excited because with us in the studio, we have Coby Byrd. And this is nothing new. We have had Coby on the show. Has it been 4 times, Coby?
Yeah, 4 times.
4 times.
4 or 5 times.
Okay, because I was trying to remember last night. The first time you came on the show was you were doing something with the Miracle Project. It was like the bully.
Yeah, it was the intimidation game.
The intimidation game.
Yeah.
So you came on. Then I honestly think you came on twice for that.
Yeah, I did.
And then you really were loving acting then, and you were taking regular classes. Then you did a camp. That was something tied to Broadway.
Yeah, Broadway Dreams Foundation.
Broadway Dreams.
That was a really good week.
And after Broadway Dreams ended, you were one of the people that was chosen to go do a workshop in New York City. That was right about this time last year, wasn't it?
Yes, I was.
Because it was like right before Thanksgiving. And so you came back on the show to talk about that you were going to Broadway Dreams. And I remember very distinctly that saying to you, so Coby, what do you want to do when you grow up? And you said,
I want to be an actor and a singer.
And see, I just want to cry because, and I said, good for you, Coby. I'm excited for you. You're going to go and you're going to do that. I certainly didn't know how quickly you were going to make that happen. You went and did the showcase in New York. Coby came back, got himself an agent, and then did a guest spot on Speechless.
Yeah.
Which we were so proud of and talked about when you were on Speechless. It was the Oscar episode, if anybody hasn't seen it. And then Coby's just continued to be in shows, and we interviewed you again when you, this fall when was it fall or summer when Miracle Project was doing their new show, and we interviewed you again. And then Coby went out and got himself a ginormous role on The Good Doctor, the #1 rated show on television. There is no moss growing under Coby Byrd's feet. And the episode finally just aired on Monday.
It was great.
Wasn't it? I mean, it was
a
so
wonderful
amazing.
Episode. It really was.
A great episode.
It was.
And Coby, I gotta say, you were one of the most fabulous things in it.
Thank you.
So, and you see the picture on the screen there of Coby when he was in the episode.
I see that.
It was emotional to watch. You are a 15-year-old on the spectrum, and you were playing a 15-year-old on the spectrum.
Actually, I think he was 18.
18.
Yeah, he was 18 or 19 or something.
So you were having to play
17,
older than you.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you were also playing someone who their particular type of autism is not your particular type of autism.
Yeah, very nonverbal, not hard time with space and sensory issues. That's something I used to have a while ago, but it wasn't like that. But it kind of related to me because that's how I kind of was back when I was younger.
Yeah, when you were really younger, right?
I barely talk. I had that very little language. I barely talked, and I always had problem with sound and lights and everything.
And so amazing.
Yeah.
It was such a heartfelt performance and not an easy performance. You had a lot going on.
Yeah.
For people who haven't seen it, I don't know where you've been, but you need to go watch it now. If it's DVR'd or you can get it on demand,
Hulu.
You need to go watch Hulu.
Yeah, Hulu.
And look at you knowing where all your shows are. And we sat as a family and watched it, my husband and my son and I, and you're friends with my son, and we were just like on the edge of our chairs the entire time, engrossed in the entire thing. I can't imagine what it was like for you and your family to watch. Were you guys doing the same thing?
We were. My mom was crying, like she was blowing her eyes out. I'm like, oh my god, I'm on TV. I'm thinking, wow, am I really that good? I'm like, I'm like that good.
You really were.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the thing that we said every time they would go to commercial. We would all go, oh, he's so good, he's so good, he's so amazing. And there were times, I don't want to give surprises away. There were times that things happened that we were all like, oh no, and we were so concerned because you are that good. And I saw some of the reviews, Coby, and one in particular that the person said, well, he was fabulous and speechless, and now he's had this great role on The Good Doctor and was so amazing. I'm sure we're going to see a lot more of this rising young star. You're a rising young star. Is it a little bit weird that you're seeing yourself on TV?
I mean, the fact I'm getting famous, like in over 4 days, I'm like,
people suddenly know who you are.
Yeah. I'm like, one day my account on Instagram is like just like 30 or 90 followers, just like that, and then all of a sudden it's skyrocketed all the way up to 1,000 followers, and now like I'm around I'm like around 3,000 followers. I'm like, how did I get that fast in just over 6 or 7 days?
Yeah, because people know. And we let people know whenever we have a star who's coming in to be on the show. We put out an email and let them know that that they're going to be here, and so people lined up this morning to meet you and take their picture with you.
A lot of people did. Yeah, it was awesome.
And I'm. Please let us all know, though, if that ever gets to be intimidating, right?
Oh, no, it's okay. I
but
love my
maybe,
fans.
Maybe down the road, it might get, but let people know. But he was, for you guys to know, he was fabulous. You did the meet and greet this morning and took pictures with people, signed autographs and answered questions, and it was really wonderful. So I want to know, when you found out that you were going to be on The Good Doctor, we hadn't even seen the first episode yet, right?
Yeah.
Because we were all waiting for it to come out. We'd seen the advertisements for it.
Yeah.
But you hadn't even seen the pilot episode
Yeah,
yet.
right. Yeah, right when I got the part, the show didn't even air yet. Like it was just a couple of days before it aired, and when I auditioned for it, I was like, oh wow, I'm gonna go to, if I get this, I can go to Canada. So next week I'm waiting, and I'm asking my mom, did I get the part yet? And she's like, I'm pretty sure not. So all of a sudden I keep hearing these things about my agent and like in the entire cast and crew, like the whole crew, like trying to get me on the set, like trying to get me to book the role.
Yeah. And
it was it was Thursday night, and I was taking out the trash, and right when I entered my house to put the rubbish back in the can, my mom was calling my agent, and she was saying I booked the role, and I dropped the bag, and I was like, wait, what? I just stood there listening to her, and she wasn't even acknowledging that I was there. And then she looked at me, and then she gave me like a wink. She gave me a wink. I was like, no, this can't be happening. This has to be some kind of break or something, because it can't be possible that I got this that I actually got this job, that could be really huge for me. So I flipped out. Like, I was like, this can't be happening for me. I must be dreaming or somehow.
Did you do the happy dance in your house? Did you do some kind of happy dance or no?
No. I did like.
Okay, you got to cultivate a happy dance for when you book stuff. That makes it all the more fun.
I did like in my head. I did like this little anime gesture, in my head. I was like, yeah.
Okay, well that's the happy dance. There you go, and it can be in your head.
Yeah.
And I love the fact that you were taking out the trash. First of all, I love the fact that you're a young man who takes out the trash for his mother. Could you teach that to my son?
Yes, I will.
He doesn't know how to do that yet.
Oh, it's easy. It's so easy. It really is. It really is.
We have not had him taking out the trash. I just realized. So first of all, there's that. And I love that some of the biggest moments in life happen when you're doing the most real things. Of course, you were taking out the trash and finding out that you're going to be on the biggest show on television. Amazing. So excited. But then there was quite a lot that had to happen to get you up to Vancouver.
We had to get my passport because I didn't have a passport yet. So we had so the next day we had to get my passport, and they were saying that we were leaving tomorrow night. So it was like, oh wow. So it's like this is happening all of a sudden, like really fast. So
yeah.
So,
and how many days were you in Canada? Was it 14?
13 days.
13 days.
13 days, yeah. And we got my passport. We went to like this really serious federal building, and we waited for like almost 3 hours just to get my passport. And when we finally got it, I was like, yes, I finally got it. But then we were told that we weren't going until Sunday. So the next day we saw the pre-screening with you. For the pilot.
We went to they had
it was great.
they had an invited audience. at the back lot of Disney to watch the pilot.
Yeah, it was.
So Jem and I went, and
wonderful. It
we
really
hadn't
was.
called anybody, and we got there, and we were sitting there, and we were going, well, this is an audience full of the autism community. It can't be that we don't know anybody here. And then we looked around, we didn't see anybody, and we're like, oh, I guess we don't know anybody. And the next thing we knew, you guys popped up next to us. And you guys all had a look on your face like something extra was going on.
Yeah.
So how amazing to be there to watch the pilot knowing that you were going to be on the show. Now I want to fast forward a little bit. So you get this script and you see that it's a big role.
It's like, it was like 70 pages long, I think.
And
it was huge.
You are now a very experienced actor. You've done lots of plays and lots of different experiences. And I want people to realize that this is not just Coby decided on a Tuesday to be an actor and then he got this role. You've been working.
I worked so hard to get this role, and it really paid off because now I'm like on this big, possibly one of the most popular TV shows like to date, at this time for now. But like, it was because I was thinking, well, this is gonna be really big for me because it's the biggest role I've possibly ever gotten in any play, in any show, in anything whatsoever, and it was the biggest thing I ever did, and it was possibly the best thing I did in a while because it was a wonderful experience for just those 2 weeks, just working and acting and spending in like going sightseeing in Canada. Like, it was one of the best weeks I possibly ever had, like this year, because it was amazing. Like, everyone was so accepting with me, and it really changed my life. It really brought a much more bigger impact on my life, and it was amazing.
I can't imagine, because for people who don't know, being on a set like that, you know, time is money, and you had places that you had to be emotionally to be able to get the scene, and you had to know your lines, and you had to know your actions and everything, and be able to get it. And it's a high pressure situation when it's that level of people.
Yeah.
And we're going to bring your dad in a minute to talk about what it was like for him being there on set with you. But was it stressful for you, Coby?
Actually, not at all. I thought it was amazing. It was I was just there to do my job, and I had a really fun job doing it. It was and I'm really thankful for all my fans who are like supporting me with everything and telling me I did great, because it's just amazing, because like it feels like my dream is coming true. It feels like my wish has literally came true. And it's like it's happening so fast, but like it's so amazing. I can't, like, I'm still processing all of it, but like it's spectacular. I can't believe this is actually happening to me.
It is spectacular, but I also keep going back to the fact that it isn't all that surprising, because here, we talk on the show all the time about when your kid is interested in something and has an affinity for it, feed that. And your parents have. That you took a class and you loved it, and so they put you in the next class, and they kept finding ways for you to take classes. You've been with the Miracle Project for, what is it, 3 years now?
3, 4, 5 years, I think.
Okay.
4 or 5 years, I think.
And you perform on a regular basis with them, and your parents have had to drive you here and there and everywhere to get to the performances. And your parents are Johnny on it. They're there all the time doing things, making sure that it's all good for you. But you also did the work, and I think a lot of times people say they want to be actors, but they don't do the work. But I love your response when you said, well, I was there to do my job, and I did my job, and I enjoyed it. That's everything. You are going to have such a long and illustrious career.
It is. It's just.
It's exciting, isn't it?
Yeah, it's amazing. I think it's just the best thing that possibly has ever happened to me. It's like, this is literally changing my life. This is really changing me, who I am. And if I did this, if I were younger, I would have never done this. If I was at that time where I had very little language and I couldn't stand the sound and the lights and everything, like it would have really bugged me. But now but I had all the support and all this acceptance, and that kind of caused me to come out of my shell, and that's what really changed my life, because it's just it's amazing, and I'm just really thankful for everything that's happening to me.
Well, you're amazing, and we're thankful for you. We want to pause and take a break because we want to bring your dad in and talk with him a little bit too, and find out about more how this all unfolded and what might be next for Coby. So stick with us. We're very excited because we're in the Noah's Ark exhibit and we're here with Jason Porter. Thank you for taking us on this tour.
Oh, thanks for having us.
So you're going to show me around a little bit and show me some of the secrets of the Noah's Ark exhibit, right?
Yeah, I'd be happy to.
Cool, let's go. Yeah. So Jason, tell us, this is an amazing space. Why is it so incredible for children?
One of the values of the Skirball Cultural Center is taking care of the earth and one another, and so this idea of repurposing materials that would otherwise be tossed off was a big component to how we designed the galleries. It's based on, certainly the story that everyone knows is the one from the Hebrew Bible, the story of Noah. But in our research, we looked at over 200 flood stories from around the world, and many different cultures have flood stories that have similarities, and the similarities that we identified were these 3 chapters: the storm, some crazy challenge that comes to your life; an ark, a kind of means of survival, a way for a community to come together to survive; and finally the rainbow, which is this kind of symbol of hope, the second chance to make the world anew.
Love it. All right, let's take a look through, and we're going to talk about some of the learning opportunities that are available here.
We really wanted people to kind of discover what they were supposed to do. For example, this elephant has a gong in the center, and there's a little wheel here that you can turn and see what happens. But there's also some hidden things, like there's a little peephole in this polar bear, so it's kind of a moment where you could talk with your kids about what does it mean that that polar bear in there only has a small piece of ice to live on it, and you could talk about kind of the environmental issues that might be associated with it.
All right, should we go downstairs?
Yeah, let's check out the storm.
So Jason, what do you call this room?
This is called the Storm Gallery. In one side of the gallery, we have a storm wall, which is all sorts of sounds and sight effects to make the storm come to life. We have this, what we call the load up. It's fairly intuitive. You put animals onto the conveyor belt and you turn the wheel and they get loaded up onto the ark. Except you can't do both at the same time by yourself. It's kind of layered in the doing, the learning that we're really interested in, which is about this notion of working together in order to accomplish something. So, when you first get on the ark, obviously you enter 2 by 2, as the story goes. And so the animals in this first section of the ark, they're not quite sure where they should be. They're a little bit nervous about who to hang out with. The gallery is really organized so that the animals are still in pairs. So we talk a lot about what are the elements of home that you need to survive. And it's really a nice kind of intro into the whole experience of being in a community, learning to be together with people who may or may not be the same as us. This gallery of Noah's Ark is unique, I think, in terms of the way that it was designed, that it offers a huge variety of experiences in a way that really accommodates people of all stripes and spots. So there are more quiet zones, like we just left in the move-in day, where you can come into this room where you have a lot of large motor things that are happening, including climbing, and we kind of have nicknamed this the arcade. It's kind of the chapter in the story where they're making new families and they're mixing with other animals that they've befriended. Oh, we have to talk about poop.
We can't do a show without talking about poop.
So, the other fact of life on an ark is that everybody poops. So the challenge is to, clean up.
Okay, so we're in the last room, very cool room. What do we call this room?
We call this the Rainbow Gallery. People really get that this is a place of hope. Sometimes there's an art-making project that it ends in some sort of inspiration, that people feel like they're inspired to take action in the world and make it a better place.
Thank you so much for showing us everything and telling us about all the wonderful things at the Skirball Center. Welcome back to Autism Live. We are here with Coby Byrd and Nick, his dad, and we're so thrilled to have you here.
Thanks for having us.
Because I had said to your wife that I love to get the parent perspective on this too, because Coby's just told us that things are moving really fast. Just did this huge role on The Good Doctor, and things are changing for him, and things are changing for your family because of that. And I'm wondering, what's it like as a parent? You guys have been, I gotta say this too, you guys have been so amazing, making sure that he has what he needs in the classes that we're thrilling him, and you're two of the best parents in the world. But now it's all happening. Is it a little intimidating?
No, because actually my wife's taking the brunt of most of it, and I'm like in the back, like the support, but also like, I don't know. It's overwhelming, but it's fun. I think I think that's the biggest thing. It's more fun for me, and I know for her, she's doing the work and she's putting in the time with his career, and he's doing the work. So I kind of like reap the benefits, so to speak. I mean, it's you know, I when we went to Vancouver, it was really cool to see him work on a professional set and to be a part of something. And like you said earlier in the segment before, we just had seen the pilot, so we didn't know. I mean, we knew about the character, we knew about the autism, we knew about him being a doctor, but we didn't know.
Right.
And then when we saw the pilot, and if anybody who knows me, I am the biggest critic, and I hate a lot of things.
Right.
The entire pilot, I kept looking at Rachel and was like, "This is so good. This is so good."
It is.
Crying, and it was one of those things where, like I said, I don't like normally get excited about, and knowing that he was going to be on it, and knowing that I think they got it right.
Yes.
I think that was the biggest thing for us in the autism community is getting it correct and getting it right. And you know, the spectrum's so big, and you know that, and everybody falls into the different category, you know, of the spectrum. But to get that right, you know what I mean, and for him to be a part of that, and I mean, the show's amazing. Everybody on the show's amazing. Crew, you know, cast, everybody. It was such a great experience, not only for him but for me. They treated me like I was him, like I was part of cast, which was amazing.
There's a great picture right now of you with Freddie Highmore on the screen. And I hear that, I didn't realize that he was producing as well, that he was producing the episode that you were in. Was he, I mean, we always love to hear, was he super duper nice?
Oh yeah, he was.
He was amazing. Like he's like top notch. Like everybody was, and he was. I mean, actually, that picture was taken in between takes.
Yeah.
Like that's how like cool.
Go with the flow.
And, go with the flow. And it was just, you know, it was really. I've been on plenty of sets. I don't know, the last 20 years, and that was probably one of my favorite.
Amazing.
Times being on set.
And what a cool experience to be there with your kid, and to see everybody, you know, being professional, and him being professional, but everybody being super nice.
Well, and the thing was, they didn't treat him any different than anybody else, and that was the cool thing. I thought it was they knew his dietary needs, which Crafty up there was absolutely amazing. They
had some good GFCF.
They had they made this gluten-free, dairy-free ham panini for him, like pretty much every day. But yeah, so I mean, so they knew that kind of, you know, going into it, but not once did they ever treat anybody. We were all part of the family. Like it really was like a really cool experience.
So talk to me a little bit, both of you, about what the prep was like, because you had 14 days up there, a lot of shoot dates. There were some makeup dates because you had some makeup things to do, school. But, you know, when you were preparing for a scene, is that something that he does on his own, Dad, or did you help him in any way?
I tried to help, but I remember giving him because we would get the sides or they get the scenes for the the next day, and I remember specifically it was 9:30 at night, and I said, "Cobes, read, you know, your scene for tomorrow." At 9:38, he came back and said, "I'm done," and it was like 2.5 pages, and I'm like, "All right." I go over the scene with him, and he knew word for word. He knew it, and I was like, "Okay." Like I just literally
You stayed out of his way.
Yeah, there's no reason you know, to like with any actor, let alone somebody on the spectrum, to go, you have the director telling you what to do, you have this person, and then now you have a dad telling you what to, it's like, no.
You stayed out.
Just stayed out of his way. If he needed anything specific, I was there for him. But as far as, you know, the acting and the whole professionalism, that was all him. And they, you know, he did his thing, and I was literally there to help if he needed to, you know, be caught.
Yeah.
Didn't need it once.
Didn't need it.
Yeah, he was amazing.
Well, I have to say, you know, I want to thank all of you because the way you carried yourself professionally reflects so well on everybody who comes behind you. And nobody wanted to put that pressure onto you, you know, but the fact that you carried yourself so well in a professional situation opened up a door for every actor who's on the spectrum behind you. The fact that you're 15 and that you could deliver on this job and deliver so professionally, wow, Coby. That opens the door for so many people. And thank you, and please thank Rachel as well for the fact that you carried, because you could have gone and been, you know, the crazy parent about, no, it's got to be this and it's got to be that, and that would have reflected on all of us too. But the fact that you went, trusted him, you know, you guys making us all look good, and that's going to open the door for more people. We're out of time, and I hate it, but I just want to say that we look forward to what's going to happen next. And thank you, because I know you have other things and other outlets that wanted you, but thanks for coming back here and being with us, because you know we're like your biggest fans.
No, thank you.
And Coby, we just can't wait to see what's next. You're just going to keep on plugging. We have to mention that you are a beautiful singer.
Thank you.
And that you have a great stage presence. And I was saying to somebody about how, you know, you had said that you wanted to be on Broadway, and I said, let's TikTok. I'll bet you in a year. I want to bet that with me right now? I'll bet that you're on Broadway in a year. Okay? I think that's going to happen for you.
So
start looking at New York real estate, Dad.
Hey, I'm all for it.
Right?
I'm all for it.
But see, I want everybody to notice that that's the attitude that it takes. You know, because there's a lot of parents that would say, I got to be honest with you. If Jem, you know, first of all, Jem says he wants to be an actor, but Jem isn't interested in it like you are, right? And if Jem said, and I want to go to New York, I'd be like, wait till you're 18, baby. You know what I mean? But not these parents, okay?
No, whatever. I mean, look, whatever he wants. This business is hard, and he needs, you know, good navigators. I mean, we're all part of the same ship.
Yeah.
You know, so we're all trying to go in the same direction. So.
Well, it's awesome. You guys are awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And it was so amazing. I was so thrilled for you, and thank you for being here. Where should people follow you? Because you mentioned Instagram.
Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram. The account is the Coby Byrd.
The Coby Byrd.
Yes.
Okay, and it's Coby, no L. You're not hearing an L there. C-O-B-Y.
C-O-B-Y.
And Bird, like you would spell bird, but the T-H-E-C-O-B-Y-B-I-R-D.
Yeah.
Fabulous. Well, we'll keep you guys posted on what Coby's doing, and whenever you have time, you come back and visit us, and keep being the fabulous person that you are.
Okay, thank you.
And thank you so much.
Thanks a
We're going
lot.
to take a break, and then we're going to be back with Bonnie Yates, special education attorney, and wish her a happy birthday. Stick with us.
Hi guys, welcome back to Smarty. For November, we're going to be working on memory with our kids, and what better way than doing a scavenger hunt. The materials you'll be needing for this activity are a camera, cardstock, scissors, glue, and whatever objects you want your child to be hunting for. Step 1, you're the hunter. Find all the objects you want your child looking for and take photos of them. Now that you've collected all the objects you want your kids hunting for later, print out the images and then cut them out and glue them on a cardstock just so they're organized and isolated. Now that the scavenger hunt template is done, put all the objects back where they belong. Remember, we're working on memory, so put them in places that your kids would normally find them. You want them to be successful. We'll make this one really easy to find. Well, I hope you enjoyed this activity with your kids. Remember, the scavenger hunt is supposed to be a fun way to work on memory. Well, until next time, craft on, guys.
Can you see me flying by your side?
Being part of this community is really important to a mom with a son like Jackson, because it really does take a village, and you need so much support, you know, to help bring out all of the amazing qualities and skills and talents that our children have. So I'm just very grateful to everybody who was a part of this.
I think it helps with all sorts of that self-esteem, social skills. They seem to communicate a little bit with each other, and they had a lot of friends. The helpers were phenomenal, and I think the social skills for sure, because they, you know, they worked together and they did a couple group things across the floor, and they sang songs together, and I yeah, for sure, I think it's a really huge deal. A great program.
What programs like this show is the person is in front of what we call today a disorder. I think what we're finding is that these sorts of brain challenges that make people unique can actually be gifts in ways we haven't discovered in the rest of society to bring them out. So when you see a program like this and you see the kids dancing, having fun, and making up jokes, making up the story. I was here when they did that. That was so amazing to watch, because they were all focused, they were all present, they were all laughing, they were all getting into the creation of this story. And that to me sort of broke the barrier to say, no, first we're dealing with people, and then we're dealing with the challenges.
Hi, I'm Shannon Penrod, and we're at the ABCs and XYZs of Special Needs Conference. And this year, for the first time, they've got something really remarkable. It's the Entrepreneurial Boutique. These are all items that have been made and are being sold by individuals who have special needs. So we're going to do a little shopping and talk to some of these fabulous entrepreneurs. Come on.
My name is Molly Rarick, and I'm founder of Breed's Gift. We're a nonprofit that serves teens and adults with special needs, like Chase here. We were founded in 2013 and serve people in the Conejo Valley, Santa Barbara, and LA.
Our main objective is to give our participants the skills they need to gain a more independent life.
My name is Shelley Cox, and Lisa Zalagi and I are founders of Creative Steps and Create Micro-Business Enterprises. And the items that we're selling here today are all made by the clients who have passions about what they want to make, and then they get the profits from what they make after we've paid all of the other expenses.
We are here today because my goal is to be independent, and also I would like to share all my artwork, and I would like to sell.
Thinking about at his young age being a businessman, you know, it's amazing. I cannot be more proud.
Logan Shepherd. At first glance, he looks like a typical American teenager. He plays in a band, loves hanging out with his friends, he doesn't like doing homework, and he's not really fond of broccoli. But Logan Shepherd is not your typical 14-year-old. Logan was diagnosed with autism at the age of 2. He was nonverbal, made no eye contact, and his parents were told to abandon all hope. Instead, his parents began an intensive intervention treatment. At its center was a quality ABA program known as the CARD method. This is Logan Shepherd now.
All I really want to say is, like, I'm kind of copying Martin Luther King. I kind of have a dream, like, that one day, like, I can just, like, inspire people and never give up. Because, like, that's what I want to do in life. Because if I can succeed, they can succeed. And I will succeed.
To follow Logan's musical journey, visit www.facebook.com/officialdrummerrock or @drummerrock on Instagram. For more information on the CARD method, visit www.centerforautism.com or call 800-345-CARD. Rock on, Logan.
Welcome back to Autism Live. We are being joined right now by the fabulous Bonnie Yates, and we have to start by wishing her the very happiest of birthday that was 2 days ago. And I hope that you had a spectacular birthday because, Bonnie, in this month of November, when we take some time to be thankful, I want you to know that I always count you in my blessings. You have been such a help to my family and to so many families out there. So we celebrate you this entire month. Happy, happy birthday, and thank you for living.
Listen, I'm so grateful that I got the opportunity. You know, I mean, my daughter sent me something today in response to my request for a holiday, cheat sheet, and she said, I already have the 3 things in life that are important. And I thought, oh, I wonder what these are going to be. So it was family, friends, and fiance.
I like that.
Not stop her from sending me a list of what I'm sure will be very classy, expensive dresses and cashmere sweaters and things. But, I mean, we're all trying to deal with our fashion addiction as best we can. So, all right, so we didn't finish up last week, the things we were talking about.
Should we start with our ever-present disclaimer?
Oh, yeah, we have to do the disclaimer. Yeah, we always have to do the disclaimer. It's going to be really fast.
And we also need to say, though, that you're coming to us from, thanks to Hirji and Chow, the law firm that you're with, and we need to talk about them, too.
We will shamelessly plug Hirji and Chow.
Please.
Okay. So first of all, I'm a California licensed attorney, so the stuff I deal with is California law and federal law. And the reason I deal with federal law is because IDEA is a federal statute, and so the states are always looking to the feds, and then they're a lot of the time they're developing their own regulations and laws and policies, but they always have to give at least as many rights as the federal government does. So when we answer a question on here, just know, like when I went to look into the question of methodology, say, which we were dealing with last week, or bullying, which we were dealing with this week, I almost always start with California law. And sometimes a good place to start is to jump on the OAH decisions, Office of Administrative Hearings decisions. So let me come back to that. Let me shamelessly plug Hirji and Chow. I am fortunate enough to work with a kick-A ** team of younger lawyers who are so creative and they're so dedicated and they're so fearless that I get to learn new stuff from them all the time. And in fact, in order to do the bullying portion of this show, I asked Rosa Hirji for materials because she's really an expert on disability-based bullying, which we're going to talk about in a little while. If you want to reach Hirji and Chow and you have a question or you want an intake, that's something we do We don't charge for it. The number is 310-391-0330. And with that, Shannon, I'm going to just do some stuff that last week I didn't get to do that I wanted to pass on very quickly. Then we're going to talk about the bullying issue, and we may continue, in subsequent shows because it's a big topic. Okay. So, statutes of limitations. How do they apply to everything we've been talking about? Well, first of all, audience, I want to let you know, the Autism-Live audience has kind of had a year to cycle through the more basic concepts in special education law. And you guys have done such an amazing job of educating yourselves and asking brilliant questions along the way that you'll notice that the concepts that we're dealing with now are more sophisticated. Now, that does not mean we can't go back to nuts and bolts at the drop of a hat, because we can. But I want to let you know you're kind of, pushing the envelope, and we're taking on stuff that is more sophisticated. So anyway, the statute of limitations is always really important in these IDEA cases, because if stuff happened to you and it's more than 2 years old, you are likely not going to be able to raise it in a due process complaint. So that is the statute of limitations. You have 2 years to bring an action under IDEA, and there are some very narrow exceptions, and they have to deal with either misrepresentation by the district of material facts, or withholding information that the parent requested. So assume that you've got a 2-year statute, and the reason that's important is when somebody's case comes in the door, we're thinking that that we're probably going to have to litigate it. I mean, to some extent at least, file for due process. And so we always want to know how many claims we have and how long what's called the limitation period is, because if the district has not been providing a free appropriate public education for the full 2 years, you're going to have a lot more, leverage. They're going to be more concerned about how this pattern of conduct would play in front of an administrative law judge. And so that's why we're always going to be trying to claim the maximum number of IEPs and assessments and things like that. And so when I get the case file, I look and I calendar the statute of limitations. And like yesterday, I wrote a client and I said, "You've got an IEP that was done in December 2015. Do you think that things that happened at that IEP were out of the ordinary, and that it's something that we want to possibly take action on?" And she wrote me and she said, "No, it was a pretty standard IEP. There wasn't really any big dispute. So I will." I will not then take any action on that. But understand there's a 2-year statute of limitations, and the other thing we've been talking about on the show is that sometimes they don't make you eligible when they should. This seems to happen a lot with kids with learning disabilities, and maybe less with autism. But if you can show that they should have known and they had facts at their disposal at an earlier point in time, you can sometimes go back beyond the initial IEP and actually claim compensatory services farther back. So that's why we're always really interested in this question of statute of limitations, because the goal is to get as many useful services for the student as possible. So does that make sense, Shannon?
It absolutely does. And it may, you said something last week that I kind of ruminated on about that sometimes, because there's something in an IEP that you want to include that's 2 years before, it will force you to file probably earlier than you may have wanted to, but because of that. So that made so much sense with me, and I was like, oh, okay, that drives things sometimes. I would imagine that this parent that you were just talking about saying, no, the 2015 was okay, was kind of a relief, because it gives you more time to work on the things in the most recent IEP that had gone off the rails.
And that's exactly right, and that's exactly what's happening in this case, because she's had a district aide for the better part of a year, and there's no consistency, and her son's behavior has deteriorated as the aid services have been poor and inconsistent. Yeah. So we're concentrating on that.
Spectacular.
We're concentrating on that. Anyway, So the next little thing I wanted to just explain in case it comes up and you don't understand it is there are two creatures of California state law. One is called a non-public agency, the other is called a non-public school. They are not public schools, they are not private schools. I mean, they are technically private schools, and many of them are or agencies, and they're maybe accredited by the state of California. And what they do is they apply to the Department of Education in California, and they have to meet certain minimum criteria for proficiency in these areas, and then they can contract with the public schools to provide services to students who have an IEP. So CARD has a non-public agency status, for example, and districts indeed do contract with CARD to provide services for kids. And then there's a whole list of non-public schools and residential schools that have a similar certification, and so the district can contract with them. Why am I spending time on this? Because the process of getting the district to pay for a non-public school or a non-public agency is much simpler than it is to pay for a private school. There's really no mechanism for the district to pay for a private school or have a contract with them. Usually the best they do is reimburse the parent. But that's a term that comes up here, non-public agency, non-public school. So I just wanted to say a couple paragraphs about that.
No, it's absolutely vital. I appreciate you talking about it because I've been in this situation with parents before where it's 100% clear to them that they don't want to be at the homeschool. And the parent starts shopping for what's going to be an appropriate place without looking at whether it's an NPA, and then find out later on that that was just a bunch of wasted time where you looked at schools that got you all excited but weren't on the list of possibilities. And unless you have thousands of dollars to pay out and hope that you're going to get it back, but being willing to not get it back, it could be an epic waste of time.
Yeah, well, it's never, I think, a bad thing to see what real quality is. But yes, unfortunately, we have to explain to parents that unless you can place and self-fund and then sue for reimbursement, private school is not on the table.
Yeah.
And districts will always resist private school more, but that has nothing to do with anything really. Anyway, we had a boyfriend question a couple weeks ago.
Yes.
And I think the issue was that a girl teenage girl had autism. She had a behavior support plan, and she was being very sexually promiscuous at school, or reasonably sexually promiscuous. I mean, not very. And your question, Shannon, to me, or the parents' question was, how do we handle this so she doesn't get into trouble at school? And honestly, I'm still scratching my head a little bit about how to deal with that. Obviously, if she has a 1-to-1 aide, it would be a little easier, although it's hard to control her verbal comments, I suppose. So all I could really think to do is go back to the IEP team and come up with some sort of a plan as maybe part of her behavior support plan to deal with these issues of sexuality. And I suppose as part of the behavior support plan, you could ask for her to have sex education, which is something that the regional centers do. But I mean, the district in theory could do it too. But I'm sort of throwing this one back to you, Shannon, because I don't really know how you control somebody's outbursts at school that are inappropriate and conceivably could create a hostile environment, for another student, except to say that the student will be protected by virtue of having an IEP, and so they probably won't be able to be expelled because it's clear that this behavior is a manifestation of their disability. Did you have any other thoughts about that? Because we didn't really talk about it.
Yeah, my question about it is that because, as I recall, she was 14 years old, that I was because my son is 14 right now, and I, for the first time, have gone through an IEP where we began to discuss the FTP, and I've gotten much more involved in that. It felt like
ITP?
I'm sorry.
The ITP?
The ITP. What? Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I get all confused with all the letters. The ITP. Thank you. So I was wondering if this wouldn't fall more appropriately under the ITP, But even as you said it, I was thinking, well, of course it would go under a behavioral plan for the IEP because it's happening now. But I think it's both. I think there needs to be something written into the ITP to help her to transition as she gets older. But either way, I think where the mom is a little bit frustrated is that, and we see this with younger kids too, where mom gets a note from school saying, well, your child hit somebody. And mom's like, well, what do you want me to do about it? Like, what exactly? My arm doesn't reach that far. And so this sort of, I love that the school informs people, but that they're not taking responsibility for it. And there's this implied thing that, mom and dad are supposed to do something to make it stop. And there's a little bit of this threat hanging over the head of, and if they can't, then they're going to have to go to a more restrictive environment.
Well, this is where we have problems because we're balancing the rights of student A with disabilities as against the rights of student B, oftentimes with disabilities. And it's very, very difficult. And the school can't allow her to engage in behavior that's going to be upsetting for the other students. So really the question is whether you can get her to a point where she understands that this is not something that we talk about at school, that there's a time and place to talk about these things, and it's not at school. Otherwise, you're right, you're in the exact same situation you have which we're going to talk about, when somebody says, I'm being bullied, and the district turns around and says, no, you bullied these other people.
Right.
And it's when you have two kids with IEPs in the same classroom and one is bullying the other one, it's not as easy as just remove the bullying student from the classroom because of stapling.
Right.
So anyway, just a couple more things really fast, and then we're going to talk about the bullying. One was, on my drive home yesterday, I was made aware that there's been this finding by the Department of Managed Care against Anthem Blue Cross. So if you haven't had a chance to check it out. This is the largest, I think, insurance company in the state of California. They've already had a $6 million hand slap, and now it's been found that they've engaged in really egregious, obvious, not ambiguous behavior in ignoring patient, client complaints about the way the benefits are doled out. So, let's see what happens next. But thank God in California we have a strong Department of Managed Healthcare. It really makes a difference who sits in those seats, whether it's the fox guarding the hen house or it's somebody who actually is really, concerned. I mean, the Department of Insurance, which is the other department that regulates insurance policies, was saying to people after the fires in Northern California, we put in place expedited provisions to pay claims. We don't want you to be out of your house, for any longer than you have to. And that's pretty enlightened thinking. So, so shout out to the Department of Managed Care for helping us deal with this big, unwieldy giant, which is the, Anthem Blue Cross. And I think in the article I read this morning in the Times, they said, well, all the insurance companies have quote unquote problems like this, but Anthem is legion. So for those of you that have been having a problem with your policy, take note.
Wonderful.
Okay, now we're going to talk about bullying. We're going to start this week. We're going to see where we go with it, where you all want to go with it. But the other thing that I'm going to start doing, I haven't quite refined it, is we're going to have a little section on the show called Due Process Detective, DPD. And the Due Process Detective is going to search out issues that come up in IEP meetings that would be good issues for due process, and we're going to talk about them so that in your IEP meetings in the future you can be focused on things to watch for.
Okay.
But bullying is, of course, an issue of considerable concern, and in my practice experience, we're getting more and more questions about bullying and allegations of bullying, and parents asking how to, deal with this behavior, especially if it's not on public display. So just thinking back to my own experience in the last 2 weeks, I went to a mediation, and at the mediation, the client informed me that the principal at school had shamed the student because the student was afraid to come into the classroom, and so the principal said, if you don't come into the classroom, I'm going to make the kids come outside and drag you into the classroom.
Whoa.
So that would be some pretty, classic bullying. Then we have another situation that's more nuanced, a nonverbal autistic 14-year-old who came home with a bump on his head and shortly thereafter, perhaps coincidentally, perhaps not, started having seizures. And when mom asked the school about it and asked them to produce the incident reports, rather than producing the incident reports, they produced 2 other incidents where they claim that her son is the bully and he's aggravating kids. And, so we're in this round robin. Is he going to be moved out of the classroom? How are they going to deal with it? So this is just to say that I didn't have to search hard for those 2 examples, but those were examples that were real, for me and exemplary of what goes on. There's an administrative law judge named Chris Butchko, and I mediated with him a couple of weeks ago. And when I went to the OAH decisions to see what California hearing officers had written about bullying, Chris Butchko had written a long opinion that would be interesting for those of you to read who want to know how California law handles this. But where we're going to start is with the federal government, because the Office of Civil Rights has issued its own guidance over the last 15 years on how to deal with bullying. And there are these letters that the Office of Civil Rights authors. They're called Dear Colleague, and Dear Colleague letters. And the Dear Colleague letters sort of talk about the problems and the approach that the Office of Civil Rights thinks should be taken to address the problems. So that's where we're going to start. In October 2014, there was a Dear Colleague letter that addressed the issue of bullying. There were also ones previous that are interesting to read too. But the first thing they said was, it's clear to all of us that bullying is a problem and the incidence of it is increasing, or at least we're seeing an increasing number of complaints. And you can either, you could either conceptualize it as, well, there's just more reporting going on, or there's actually more bullying going on. But in any event, they said the problem with bullying, the hard part is that it often occurs outside of the presence of the adults that could discipline the bullies. And I don't think that that's an excuse, but it does ring true for me in terms of my own sons, bullying in high school. I think they figured out kind of where to be, where they were going to see him, but they weren't going to be supervising adults around. Sometimes it was right after school, half a block up from school. So I think that's a legitimate problem. But what we're really addressing here is what happens when the parent makes a district aware of the bullying. What is the district's obligation in terms of a response? And that's what the Dear Colleague letter talks about. So I'll keep going till you tell me it's time to stop. How's that?
Well, we started a little bit late with you, so keep going.
All right. Okay. So the Office of Civil Rights has 2 statutes that it uses to enforce anti-bullying. One is Title II of the Spending Clause, and the other Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act. Both of those statutes make it unlawful to engage in disability-based bullying. And they also want you to know that this authority that they have to regulate extends to charter schools and magnet schools. Now, notice it does not extend to private schools necessarily. That's something I'd have to, think about, because I think usually the nexus is that the school is receiving federal funds, and that gives the federal government the enforcement ability. But one would hope that there were a way to enforce bullying in the private schools. There may be, there probably are other ways that I have to think about. But what you're looking at or looking for is the standard for when a district is liable for disability-based bullying or disability-based bullying that leads to a denial of FAPE. And so the first thing they say is that a district that is informed about bullying must immediately investigate. Well, parents have to put these things in writing, or there's not likely to be any investigation, because it just seems to be a natural human tendency to want to, like, bury these things if they're not confronted with them. So I'm, sure that your listeners know to put everything in writing, but that would be important because then the school has to investigate.
Bonnie, can I ask you, do we need to use the word bullying in order for them to feel that?
I would.
Okay.
I would. I mean, I just got this IEP back that says, teacher explained the difference between teasing and bullying. And I thought that was a very interesting sentence, and I meditated on that a little bit. And I wrote on my response to the IEP that in this instance, there's no difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes there might be.
Well,
but, I don't think anybody wants to chance it and say, let the teasing go on. It's not a problem.
Right. Absolutely.
So,
I'm just thinking in terms of we, in all the years that we've been at school, you've had amazing teachers, except for 1 year. And at one instance, I came to her and said, that an incident had happened with my son, and her response was, "Oh, yeah, that didn't happen." And I said, "Well, my son says it did happen." And she said, "Well, I asked the kids afterwards, and the other kids in the class said they didn't see it, so it didn't happen, because I guarantee you that if it had happened, somebody would have seen it and they would have been talking about it." So she dismissed it. Now, later on, she said that was her investigating. Are there criteria for investigating that I could have said, no, here are the criteria, you didn't follow them?
there aren't fixed criteria like you have to talk to this person and that person and you have to write a written report. But let's just say if you don't do your due diligence and engage in a thorough investigation and, you know, talk to witnesses who likely have information, if you cut corners on it and you turn out to be wrong, then you're going to be liable. But it just sounds like that was a situation where she figured she could kiss it off, so she did.
Yeah.
But there are real risks to that, because if, you know, there's a duty to investigate immediately, and then if the investigation determines that there's disability-based bullying going on, the district, in order to, you know, insulate itself from liability, has to do certain things quickly. And when they do, I think that, you know, a judge or the federal government is going to be sympathetic, because they're not saying you have a responsibility to make sure that no bullying ever occurs in your school. I don't think that's realistic. But the question is, the focus is about how you deal with it, right? When it comes up, and you can't sweep it under the rug. Because bullying, disability-based bullying, can lead to a hostile environment at school. And if a kid is in an environment at school where he or she's stressed out about his treatment at the hands of other adults or students, that's going to get in the way of him focusing on his classwork and his classroom participation. And if that's what happens, that constitutes a denial of a free, appropriate public education.
Now,
So-
we are at the point where we need to pause, and then we can come
Okay.
back to this in 2 weeks.
Right.
But I think it's a good place to pause as well, because this is, you know, we can begin to ponder this. And already I'm thinking to myself, wished I'd known that, because I would have dealt with this in a much different way.
Right.
I would have addressed it in writing, and I would have said, I'd like to know what you did to investigate, and make her put that in writing. So anyway,
Well,
you
can
live, you learn.
I close by saying that
Yes.
Gloria Allred was at a meeting of SAG, you know, the Screen Actors Guild, and AFTRA, and she was talking to the folks there about how to deal with harassment, you know, and sexual abuse. And she said, write everything down, because you're going to forget what happened, and report it so you're protected. So as soon as a parent becomes aware that there may be bullying going on, the first order of the day is to document the information in writing and give it to the principal. And we'll stop there, but if you all have time and you want to send in some specific scenarios, might be interested for folks to hear. One of the things the Office of Civil Rights does in this Dear Colleague letter is they give some examples of what is and isn't actionable. So we'll be talking about that.
Okay. We're obviously not going to be here next week because we're celebrating Thanksgiving here in the United States, but we'll be back with Bonnie the week after that. So it'll be a 2-week pause.
Right, everybody. Keep your family close.
Thank you, and happy birthday and happy Thanksgiving. We adore you, Bonnie. Thank you so much. And one more shout out for Hirji and Chow. How do we find them?
Hirji and Chow, Culver City. Call us up. Tell us about your disability experiences.
There you go. What's the phone number again, Bonnie?
310-391-0330.
Fabulous. Thank you so much.
No one should be bullied at school. No one should have to go to school and be bullied.
Absolutely. Amen to that.
Right.
Thank you so much, Bonnie.
Okay, bye, Shannon.
Bye-bye. We're going to take a short break, and then we're going to be back with an absolutely fabulous interview with Jordan Kamnitzer and his wonderful girlfriend. You are just going to love them. So stick with us right back after this.
Are those your eyes? Is that your smile? I've been looking at you forever, yet I never saw you before. Are these your hands?
As a celebrity, whatever that means, you want to do what you can to give back. The way I've always looked at it, if I'm available, I'm going to be there. And when you get there and you see what folks are doing and the lives that they're touching, how can you not want to continue to be a part of it?
And for the first time, I am looking.
What can we all do to make a difference? Not only with trying to find a cure, but to help the children and the families that may not have the resources for these kids.
When you're looking back at me, now I understand what...
None of us are doing enough, but I think that we're doing as much as we possibly can. Because we all live in society, and the more we can all do to help society, the more it helps all of us.
And for the first time, I am looking in your eyes, and for the first time, I'm seeing who you are. I can't believe how much I see when you're looking back at me. Now I understand why love is. For the first time.
Got bruises, aggression, and how to handle it. Got bruises? Of course you do. And if you don't, you may sometime in the future. I remember I used to be covered in bruises. My son's tiny little sharp teeth would inflict all kinds of blue marks all over my arms, and people would say, "Does your husband beat you?" Aggression in autism is connected to what I call the 3 H's: health, habit, and help me. So what do I mean by that? Health is really an underlying issue in autism. There are more studies that show that autism is linked to a dysfunctional immune system. And when you tackle that with medical treatment, special diets, things like that, aggression can improve greatly. In your area, there are different doctors that are going to specialize in autism. Mainstream pediatricians, mainstream doctors are really that much of help. Habit is very, very ingrained in people with autism. We know this. Sometimes that's a strength, sometimes it's a weakness. So when people with autism are getting that negative attention, getting the excitement from being aggressive against someone, it's hard to break that. This is when you should get some professional advice in. Perhaps your ABA provider or someone else can help you break that cycle and redirect so that they don't keep finding aggression so much fun. Third of all, help me. Aggression is actually an attempt to communicate for some people with autism, especially those who have a hard time with verbal language. So that's when it's really important to get that extra step to get them a means of communication, be it an iPad, be it perhaps a letter board if you're in a low technology country where you can't access a lot of things. It's very important so that they can at least communicate their basic needs. They might be in pain. Someone might be unfortunately abusing them. That does happen. So take it seriously. Aggression isn't just aggression. There's usually an underlying cause. Now, I would caution you because autism and stubborn do tend to go together. It's important to not let your child get too much control of things, too much control of the family, because when they get too willful, that leads to some really long-term problems. Get your parenting in order and tend to that aggression before it turns out to be too much for you. You may have bruises now, but it won't last forever. When I talk to my son now, he looks back and he says, I can't believe I did that to you, Mom. I'm really sorry. I'm like, well, just let me have a few French fries off your plate and we're going to call it even.
Welcome back to Autism Live. I'm very excited because right now in the studio we have two wonderful people. We've had Jordan Kamnitzer before on the show, but he's here for the first time with his girlfriend Toni Kent. They are the subject matter for the wonderful film Perfectly Normal, and they're joining us right now in the studio. Thank you guys for being here.
Thank you.
We're thrilled to have you here. Jordan, you've been on the show before and we had such a lovely conversation and we had so many people write in and say how delightful you are, because you are. And we had talked then about sometime we had to have you come on with your girlfriend, Toni. And what a perfect excuse to have you guys on, because there's a film that it's about a 12-minute long film, a documentary, and it looks at your life, Jordan, but a little bit of your life together with Toni. So let's start with, how long have you guys known each other?
Well, Toni and I have known each other for 30 years, but we've been going together for 25.
Okay, so there was a 5-year period of time when you guys just were friends and just knew each other but weren't boyfriend and girlfriend.
Or just acquaintances in between that, because I saw her at Santa Monica College and also at some social groups that when she had some former boyfriends that she accompanied them with, including LA Gold and Javi Reem.
So you kind of had to wait for a time when she was available to ask her out? Was that kind of what the thing was?
Yeah, that was part of it, but also it was a dry spell that I had been in for nearly 4 years after the breakup of a past girlfriend. And finally, we decided, to take a chance, and Toni came into my life, in terms of dating and being together.
And you guys have been together for 25 years. Have you been living together all that time?
Only on weekends. She currently lives in a program called Home Ownership Made Easier, which is funded through the Westside Regional Center, and she lives with a male roommate in separate bedrooms.
Okay, and then, but you guys, you spend weekends together and you spend a lot of time together.
Do. Yeah.
That's a wonderful thing. Now, this film, we got to talk about this, Perfectly Normal. It's absolutely beautiful. And one of the things that comes up in the movie that you say at least a couple of times is that what's normal, right? What is it that you say in the film? You say, if you think about it, all people are a little bit different, or nobody's really normal. What is it you say, Jordan?
Well, I say that nobody is perfect, even though we try to be on the course of being perfectly normal regarding on our autism, or in case of Toni with a Tourette syndrome.
And we hadn't brought that up before, but you you have a diagnosis on the autism spectrum. And
Yes.
When were you diagnosed?
Well, I was diagnosed a few months after I was born, but as autism. But then I discovered in 2002 that I heard that Asperger's syndrome has a link with bipolar disorder, and I know that I do admit that I do have mood swings of either excitement or being down in the dumps and so forth. So then when I figured that out with that link between bipolar disorder and Asperger's syndrome, because since on the other hand I do things like drive and get around easily, terms of my intelligence. So therefore, and I knew that I am on the spectrum and have Asperger's.
Right. And Tony, you have a diagnosis of Tourette's. And when did you find out that you had Tourette's? How old were you?
About 17 or 18 years old, but it was really a tough battle, you know, during my school years, because kids used to tease me when I used to make noises and stuff like that, and twitch and shake, and I couldn't change that, and I was thrown out of classes, and kids weren't nice to me. They teased me and wouldn't let me participate in games that really used to hurt my feelings, you know.
Yeah.
But you know, I'm on a medication now. I'm so glad and so grateful for it that I've been on it since I was 18 years old, and it keeps the twitches and the stuff controlled. But I do twitch and maybe shake a little bit, you know, but it's not nearly like before. I mean, I couldn't even function before. I couldn't even hold a spoon, or I mean, it was terrible, you know, and I felt so bad too, and I didn't even know what it was at first, you know, but at least I'm, you know, aware of what it is now, and I got the medication that's under control so I can have a normal life now. Yeah.
It's wonderful. And you know, one of the things that I love about in this film is that, you know, I would imagine that sometimes when you tell people what your diagnoses are, that they get a picture of what your life must be. And we get to see in 12 minutes that you guys have a rich and full life. And I said to you this morning, Jordan, that film is just evidence to me that I think you might be the bar, the measurement for normal, and the rest of us are somewhere, you know, in relation to that. Because look at you. I mean, you guys have a relationship that's 25 years. Like, how many people do you know that have that? I can only count on one hand people that I know that have been together for 25 years. And yet you guys have difficulties. You talk about this in the film, and about how much work it is to be in a relationship. What kinds of things do you guys have to do to be able to get along?
Well, we can't run away from our problems or our troubles. You know, we always work things out. And I feel very lucky to have Jordan as many years as I've had him, you know, because there are a lot of couples out there that don't last very long, you know, and what's really terrible is that, you know, I don't even want to say this, they beat each other and they hit each other, and I mean, it's really awful, it's horrible. And I just feel that if ever anybody that does that, I mean, they're not right in the head. They're sick in the head, and I would really recommend that. They would definitely need some psychiatric treatment, because it isn't normal. I mean, it's definitely not a perfectly normal film. I mean, it's terrible.
Right,
and when I hear about it and I see it, I mean, it's terrible. It makes me feel so sad.
That's not a relationship that you would want to be in, or a relationship that any should want
Jordan
to
would
be in.
never do a thing like that. I would never either. We would know that. That's silly. I mean.
And you care about each other so that wouldn't happen.
But out of honesty, we do argue a lot, but that's a lot better than physical. I mean, you know.
Exactly. But I love, and you say it in the film, you say you can't run away from your problems. And yet the normal world, there's a lot of that. Wouldn't you agree, Jordan? That
we definitely wouldn't be able to live with each other. That would be really serious.
It would be hard.
But you know, I have no control over anybody else's behavior.
Where did you guys learn all this?
I have no control, and I feel bad for the other people out there. But if I ever see it, of course I would report it.
Absolutely.
That's definitely something that you would have to report, I mean, right away, because it can be dangerous.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But you said you guys argue.
Yes, we do.
Well, that's normal. Everybody argues
normal.
once in a while. Yeah.
But where did you get this philosophy, both of you, about you can't run away from your problems?
Well,
Jordan was the one that told me that.
And
I'm the one that is so hard-headed, you know.
I mentioned that too, because after viewing, you know, the seasonal animated special of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer,
I
and you
remember
hear
that.
Burl Ives said that, you know, something amazing thing was happening, and you see that Rudolph was growing up, and you see the antlers now on his head, and Rudolph had learned that when you grow up, you cannot run away from your troubles.
Sometimes that makes me worry sometimes.
Why does it make you worry?
Well, that trouble is going to happen, you know, but I don't know what, you know, you can't predict the future.
Right.
But, you know, I do worry a lot, and I do have anxieties, you know, and, you know, but I know Jordan is absolutely right, and I'm sorry, Jordan, I'm so hard-headed that I drink way too much coffee, and then
Too much
all
caffeine.
all that
Is that
Yeah.
true? She's hard-headed and
I
drinks
get
too
mood
much
Yeah, she
swings
does,
too when I have
caffeine.
too much caffeine. Makes the Xanax not work. Because the Xanax that I take unless it's necessary, and yes, you have to have a prescription for that. That's a very strong drug. It's a relaxer pill. It helps you to relax.
Yes.
And if you take that, for an example, plus with a cup of coffee or a Diet Coke, the caffeine is a stimulant and it doesn't mix with a pill. When it tries to relax you, and then you take it with coffee or a Diet Coke, it makes it not work.
So have you tried drinking like a caffeine-free Coke instead
I
of
hate it.
I wanted to drink a lot
There's
more
the
water.
endorsement for caffeine-free Coke.
But I am addicted to it, but I
Yes.
really, I know, I do admit I drink way, way, way too much,
Well, you guys are nothing if not honest. That's one of the things that's so striking in the film is that there's no, there's no artifice. You guys are just who you are, and you admit to your foibles and the things that drive each other crazy. But you're also very loving with each other. I've spent a little bit of time with you guys this morning, and you support each other. You have good senses of humor. Now I know, Jordan, that you work a job. Is it a full-time job?
Yes, it is.
And I know you take it very seriously, that whenever we're going to film with you, we have to figure out when you can have time off, and that you are a very diligent worker. What is it that you do?
Well, I'm a file clerk for Social Studies School Services, where I've been now employed for 29 plus years, and they've gone through a lot of changes and I'm in the process that I'm being moved from one office to another, and that the room I was in, which was once a supply room, will now be a meeting room, as an example.
Oh. And I'm sure that all that's a little bit discombobulating, but 29 years that you've worked for the same place as an exemplary employee.
Yes.
You drive a car.
Yes.
You live in your apartment and maintain your own apartment.
Yeah.
All of these things that I think an outsider, if they just heard about you guys, would probably assume that these things were outside of your reach, and yet you've been doing this your whole life very successfully.
Yes.
What do you think the secret to the success with all of those things has been?
Well, the secrecy, I would say, is, maybe perseverance.
Yes.
That could be one of them. And the other is encouragement itself, even if one has to change on a routine or level. And I've gone through this quite a bit at my job.
Absolutely. And now, Tony, do you work?
Yes, I work part-time at the Westside Regional Center. I've worked there over 10 years, and I love what I do. I love the people there. I feel very grateful and very lucky to have my job and stuff, And I have a very nice job coach that helps me and so forth. And there have been new people and old people that have come and gone, but, they're all very, very nice. I have never, ever once ran into a horrible person at the regional center, except that one person that, remember Jordan, that guy that took Mike Daniger's place, and Kevin, what he was doing? He was escorted right out the door. We had so many complaints from him because what he was doing was horrible, And I was worried, and he was even mentioning that he was threatening to close the regional center down, and I was...
Dear.
And I was just scared.
Is he gone now?
Oh, he's long gone.
We love that.
I went to Denise Fernald, remember, and I told her what I was afraid of, and she says, "Don't worry, he cannot do that. He's escorted out the door. He's long gone."
There you go.
Someone took his place that used to be Jordan's service coordinator, and he is super, super nice as Carmine.
So that brings up a question for me, though. Do you both still have service providers that help you to coordinate things? How much support do you feel like you get? What kinds of things do they help you with?
Oh, my service coordinator is fantastic. I mean, she worries about me. She always makes sure that I'm all right, and she's very caring, and I feel very lucky and grateful to have her. I know I'm a little hard-headed sometimes that, sometimes in the past I didn't let her help me, but now I do,
That's awesome.
And, I do worry that I'm going to lose her, and I did tell her that, and, she says, not to worry, you're not going to lose me, and so forth. And I mean, when I see her and stuff, I feel relaxed, I feel safe, I feel good when I see her, you know. But yes, I do talk a lot, you know, and I do talk to her a lot when she has to get her work done. But I like to socialize and stuff, but I got to get my work done too, you know.
Absolutely.
I
everybody
get
does.
support from Life Steps Foundation,
Uh-huh.
which is supported by the Regional Center of Westside, and I've had, you know, changes of counselors over the years, and I get help in terms of advice on organization and money and cleaning up and so forth itself. And I usually get somebody once a week who comes over to my apartment or to my office during my lunch hour to talk about that.
Wonderful.
And I help Jordan out with groceries and gas money.
There's an amazing.
That's all I can do.
Yeah.
But
There's an amazing scene in the film, and we really want to encourage people. It's 12 minutes, and it'll change your day, first of all, and make you look at things in an entirely different way, make you incredibly grateful, and make you willing to see that there is much more happening in the world of abilities. I don't even want to say disabilities, in the world of abilities, right? Because we all have different abilities. But there is a scene that's kind of heartbreaking for me when you guys go to the grocery store. And you are very excited about the purchases that you're going to make. And then tell us what happens.
Well, the place is called Yummy's, located on San Vicente at Hauser.
that was expensive. I didn't
It
realize
really,
that.
It was.
Yeah.
And
So
having
it's more of
to-
an upscale.
expensive.
Would you say it's an upscale grocery store? That it's a
It's
little
like
bit more
Gelson's.
expensive?
No, Gelson's is
Yes.
high like Bristol Farms. I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't realize how expensive that was.
And
And
it's,
so the bill was a little bit more than what you had anticipated.
Yes, I did, yeah.
And
Yeah.
I didn't know that either, you know.
Yeah. And so
yeah.
what did you have to do?
We had to put some things back, you know.
Yeah.
But, you know, after the film was done, I had the extra money in my backpack. And the thing was, it was in Jordan's trunk. So I took that money out, and then we went back into the store. And the things that we put back, we bought those again after the other, you know.
Is it hard? I mean, you know, certainly I'm thinking about the autism parents right now who are watching this, and they're looking at you guys and going, oh, this is amazing. Like, it makes us all so happy to see you guys so happy together. I mean, the rest of the stuff is wonderful too, you guys. The fact that you guys have jobs and that you have wonderful places to live is fabulous. But the fact that you guys are together and that you have this support together and this loving relationship,
And sometimes
it's inspirational.
Sometimes, out of honesty, I don't stop and realize how very lucky I have it sometimes, you know.
Well, we're all guilty of that, right? But to see the two of you together makes us all feel great. But I know watching the film, I was worried about, is this hard financially, being on your own? Is this something that's really rough for you guys? Do you think so, Jordan?
Yes, it is. It is rough.
And yet, you know, this is the plan for now. You guys are going to keep moving in this direction. What happens? Have you given any thought to retirement and when it's time for you to retire, what that will mean?
For retirement, I know what they say is that unless one has a lot of money, the rule is do not retire unless it's either illness or injury that is, you know, more terminal, or if one can no longer have the urge, you know, to work. So the main thing is to keep on working unless and until you become ill or unless you die.
So that's because that's my plan too,
Yeah.
by the way, Jordan. My plan is that I'm going to work right up through lunch on the day of my funeral.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to do,
retiring.
definitely. That's what I'm going to do.
Right?
Definitely. I'm grateful I can work. There are a lot of people out there that have a disability that they're too sick to work, you know.
Absolutely. And
that's
there's a lot
sad.
more people who want to work and who can't find a job.
Yeah.
It is very hard to find jobs nowadays. A lot
Even
of people,
second jobs too.
A lot of people are shopping online now, and they're not getting enough customers in.
Yes.
Because, you know, if
Yes, that's a
in a
good point.
store or a restaurant or anything, if you don't get enough customers in, you know, they can't get paid. And then if they can't get paid, they can't pay the workers or themselves. And they can't pay the lease, the rent to keep the restaurant or the store going, so they have to close it, you know. And then the other people get laid off, you know. And then they're
Absolutely.
out of a job, you know. So what do? Especially if the holidays are coming up and if they have, you know, little kids, you're like, where's my present? Where's my doll? And they, you know, it would be, you know, the parents saying, I'm sorry, sweetheart, but I lost my job and I don't have the money right now this year. I'm very sorry. And that little kid may not understand and start to cry, you know.
Absolutely.
And it is really sad. And, you know, anybody that has any type of job right now or can work, they are very, very lucky.
We
they
all need
have
to be
it because
grateful who have
it is
jobs.
very hard to find jobs nowadays.
I agree
But
with you,
I know
Tony.
there's always a See's Candies. But Jordan, you know the Beverly Center? Remember
Yes.
that See's Candy store?
Yes, I did.
They closed that.
Oh, really?
They closed it because
That's
they weren't doing
unfortunate.
very well. You know, and a
That's
lot of
unfortunate.
stores at the West Side Pavilion, it's like a skeleton there.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's-
so many stores have closed and stuff. And I heard no date's been set that, I don't want to say the wrong thing, but I did hear from someone that they're going to tear down the West Side Pavilion because they're
hope
not
not.
doing too well, but they're going to keep the Landmark Theater and the Macy's.
Okay.
But I'm not really 100% sure.
Right.
But
it's
that's
just,
what I
Right.
heard.
It's hearsay. It's
Because they're not doing
Right.
too well. I mean, so many stores are closed. I mean, when the holidays come, what stores are people going to go
Sure.
into? That's the thing. You know, what are they going to buy?
Absolutely.
We
Now-
need to be, you know, also careful about the 401k, and they make an issue
Exactly.
of that too.
Yes, but you have a 401k.
Yeah.
And so you've got a plan then.
Yeah.
You're doing okay.
Yeah.
And I hope that people see that I was so struck in the film because one of the things it focuses on for you, Jordan, is that you have this life happening, but that you have an inner life that's happening as well.
Yes.
That when things get a little intense, you have a whole world inside your head that you retreat to.
Yes.
And, you know, it's interesting to me because I think a lot of us do. I think a lot of us have that inner life. Have you ever seen the film The Secret Life of Walter Mitty? Or read the story, The Secret Life of Walter
Yeah,
Mitty?
the one with Danny Kaye. Yeah.
Yes, Danny Kaye. And that things are happening in his real
Yeah.
world, but he retreats to an inner life.
Yes.
And do you retreat to an inner life ever, Tony, or it's all happening here for you?
Sometimes it's a tough decision, a tough question to answer.
It is, and I put you on the spot for it. But I know I'm a creative person, and so I retreat to the inner life inside my head. And I really related to it, Jordan, that there were times when, and I suspect that if my husband were to watch it, he would appreciate too. As women, we tend
yes.
to talk a lot, right?
Yes,
That's our
we do.
thing.
The caffeine makes
Sure.
me like a chatterbox.
Well, I don't do caffeine, Tony, but I talk a lot
Yeah.
too. And I can see sometimes that I'll be yakking away and my husband has retreated to the inner place in his head. And we get to see that happening in the film. We get to see some of the pictures in your head. When you saw the film, is it a good representation of where you retreat to in your head?
Yes.
Had you talked with the director and said, when I retreat to my head, this is what I see? Is that why they showed what they showed?
Yeah, it could be. I could say that from the wonderful direction and production of both Joris and also of Marika.
And we should say their
wonderful
full
that, too.
names because they're the
Sure.
director and producer,
Yeah,
correct?
sure. Yeah, right. Joris de Boche, it's a Dutch name,
Uh-huh.
and Marika Reiner, she's Dutch too, but she's married to the owner of the company, David Reiner.
And they are, we want to give them congratulations that they've just had a baby.
Yeah,
And that's
second
a
child.
wonderful, wonderful thing. And it's a beautiful, beautiful film. Have we put up the link yet, Samantha, to show them? Because the film is available for free online right now through the New York Times. And that anybody can watch it. It's 12 minutes of your life. And, you know, sometimes you watch 12 minutes on the internet and you go, I wish I had that 12 minutes back.
Oh,
I
yeah.
guarantee you, this is not one of those 12 minutes. You will go through the rest of your day and feel better. Especially if you are somebody who loves somebody who is on the spectrum or has Tourette's or whatever, and you want everything in the world for them, right? And to see the two of you in your world, it made me really happy, you guys. It made me really, really happy. I will say there's one scene when you call him in from the other room. Do you remember that?
Jordan, can you come here? I love you, Jordan.
Yes.
Yes.
She calls you in to tell you that she loves you, and you say, okay. and you go to leave, and how many times do you say it to him?
Oh, many times. I drive him crazy.
Is that a normal thing amongst you guys, that she calls you in from another room to tell you 22 times that she loves you?
Sometimes that's like a routine.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
No, why are you apologizing to me?
Not
I
at
thought
all.
it was cute. But does it drive you a little crazy?
Oh no, sometimes it depends, but it doesn't.
It's kind of nice to have somebody to call
Yes.
you in from the other room just to tell you that they love you,
Yes,
isn't it?
Well,
of course
I got
it
a
is.
big surprise for you, Jordan.
Yeah.
I was going to keep it a secret, but I guess I can announce it to the whole world and you now. It's a very
Yes,
nice
sir.
surprise.
Yes.
Well, I can't treat the whole wide world, but you know your favorite restaurant, Casablanca?
Yes.
Well, the night before Thanksgiving, I'm going to take you out to dinner
Thank-
there. It's my treat, and
Thank
that's
you.
your early Christmas present.
Thank you very much.
And on Thanksgiving that morning before we go, where do you want to go to breakfast? But I can't go anywhere expensive.
It will
Where
be
would you
more on
like
the
to
Denny's
go?
because you know how several stores are closed and
Okay, I'm gonna.
restaurants,
Can I
markets, all
try
that.
the pumpkin pancakes there? You gonna try that?
Oh no, I'll save it for my meal, but thank
And I'll
you.
have the iced cappuccino with it too. And on my pancakes, I want syrup and I want butter on it. And oh, I'm having such a craving right now
She
for
likes to
something
talk
sweet.
food quite a
And
bit
you
in
know what? You know what
restaurants.
really
She's a
sounds
woman.
good right
That's
now?
what we do, Jordan.
Yes.
We like to talk, and we like to talk about food.
Yeah,
Do you know
sure.
what sounds good right now?
That sounds good right now.
Oh God, Jordan, you know what sounds good right now?
What?
A hot fudge sundae
Oh, my
right now.
gosh.
That's what I want to go out and have a hot fudge sundae right now.
Yeah.
That's
with
an interesting
whipped cream
thing.
and a cherry on top of it. Will you share it with me, Jordan?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, Jordan, you're so sweet.
Sweet,
Am I a,
yeah.
am I a
Yeah.
lousy girlfriend?
That's another question she asks in the
Yes,
film.
what's up with that? Why do you ask him if I'm a lousy
Sometimes
girlfriend?
I feel a little insecure.
Well, it's I could go back to the fact that when my parents were alive, my father would work as an architect and doing charades, and coming home late, my mother would call him
Exactly.
miserable husband or miserable father for
To kind of
that.
tease him.
Sort of teasing him and some sort of part of it, feeling of it whenever he comes home, procrastinating to the very end on charades and competitions.
Okay, he played charades?
No, charades, charade when you sort of try to finish competitions, for architectural plans.
Oh, I didn't know about that.
Yeah, that's what I mean
Something
by
like
charades.
Amazing. Well, as I said, you guys are too cute. You have something there on the table that we wanted to show. Isn't that beautiful? And for
Nice.
people who can't see on the camera, if it doesn't show up, it's a beautiful star. It says perfectly normal, and it says starring, and it has both of your names written on it. It's
Yes.
absolutely beautiful. So now, where did that come from?
An e-buddy who lives in Pennsylvania, a former best buddy who had seen the film, gave me this present, which was outside my apartment door on one Saturday, and it was in a box, and I wrapped it up, and it was just wonderful, and I immediately informed my e-buddy, named Jennifer Holmes, about it, and said, thank you very much, we really appreciate it, we love you very much, moi, and also attempt to have Tony to speak with her because she was not there at the time, but she left a message
Yeah, it was
for
so
her.
nice. I was really surprised. That's really nice.
I showed it to
Really
people
is.
at work, and I hope to show it to my brother when we go down for Thanksgiving in San Diego in a few weeks.
Really nice. And so, you guys, I'm watching this beautiful relationship it's unique, and yet it's like every other beautiful relationship in the world.
Yeah.
What advice do you give people to stay together for 25 years?
Don't run away from your troubles.
I love that. You want to agree with that? or you
Yes,
want to add to
totally.
it?
Yes, don't run away from your problems as well, and that you have to work it out. And the kind of lesson you learn from Sesame Street is cooperate.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And for parents that are out there that are watching this, what helped best prepare you for your life and to be in this relationship? Did somebody help you to know all this? Did somebody I know you said you watched Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, but is there something we as parents can do to help our kids so that they can be in a relationship like what you guys have?
Yes.
Well, share
share, teaching them sharing early on.
Sharing, being considerate, being
Absolutely.
thoughtfulness, waiting your turn,
Yes.
showing a little bit more patience, But I do admit sometimes I don't show as much patience. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't,
Yeah,
I'm just
well-
doing that out of honesty, but maybe everybody is like that sometimes.
I love that the title of the film is Perfectly Normal, because no one can ever do anything perfect, right? None of us is
Right.
perfect. We can aspire to share, but we're never going to be perfect. What about you,
But I'm a
Jordan?
lousy girlfriend, Jordan.
No, she isn't. Now, come on.
No.
She's not a lousy, because if I was saying if she were a lousy girlfriend, then I would not have had her. But I'm
Oh,
making
you really
sure
mean that, Jordan?
it would have been completely different.
I love you.
Love you too.
Are you going to buy me a hot fudge sundae?
No,
Just
thank
kidding.
you. She
No,
doesn't.
no.
Her favorite place is the Cheesecake Factory.
Oh, I love the
Okay.
Cheesecake Factory. That's my downfall. Every time when I go to the Cheesecake Factory, oh my God, I definitely want to eat.
That's an
I want to
amazing
eat
place.
the fried macaroni and cheese and the cheese enchiladas and the lemon lime cheesecake with vanilla ice cream and lots of whipped cream.
Well, I've heard a lot about restaurants, but
Yes.
do either one of you cook?
I cook all the time.
She does mostly.
Is she a
that,
good
yeah.
cook?
Yes, she is.
That's wonderful. And you enjoy cooking?
Yes.
I love it. Well, I just want to thank you guys so much. We want to encourage our audience to watch Perfectly Normal, this beautiful film. There is the link to it. It's or you can look on the New York Times. You can search Jordan Kamnitzer and put Perfectly Normal, and it'll come up on the New York Times. It's totally free. Little bit, 12 minutes and a couple of seconds, change. And I guarantee you'll absolutely love it, and you'll get to see more of what you've seen here. This beautiful, beautiful couple.
There is a Cheesecake Factory not too far where.
The Dr. Panga one.
Let's go there.
And
I'm
I
hungry.
also love that
Yeah.
you guys just enjoy yourselves.
Yes.
That you have been able to. I mean, we talked before the show about anxiety and all kinds of things, and yet you are two of the happiest people I've had the opportunity to spend time with this week. So I think this is delightful. I think that you're delightful, and the world should see more of you.
Sure.
I think you're a great medicine for all of us.
Yeah.
So
So
have
a lot
a
of
wonderful
people-
Thanksgiving.
There are a lot of people out there that I hope would see this, and I hope they would understand it and enjoy it,
I think that they
Because I am very, very nervous right now. I'm
And yet you would
very
never
nervous.
notice it. You seem like you're perfectly
Yeah.
calm and happy.
I am very nervous.
Did you have something you wanted to say?
Yeah,
Jordan?
I have sent this film to a lot of Facebook friends with the note saying, enjoy this moving video and share it with your friends and colleagues. Jordan Kamnitzer. I've been doing that, and I've gotten several responses from that, mostly positive, and it does show up on several of the Facebook people. Some of them will not allow to be shown on their Facebook page, so you have to send it as a private message instead. Yeah.
Yes, but you're great at Facebook.
Yeah.
If you ever wanted to go into a second career, social media is definitely a strong point with you.
Sure.
You have a lot of friends, and you network and you recommend friends to me
Yes.
all the time, and
Yeah, ever changing for up to 5,000 friends. Yeah, the
Yeah.
maximum you're allowed.
Yes. Well, I just think you guys are incredible, and I thank you so much for being here. We're out of time, but I hope you guys have the best Thanksgiving and the
Thank you.
happiest holidays.
Sure, very much.
Remember, I'm taking you out to dinner the night before,
will.
and then on that morning, I'm taking you to
I know.
breakfast.
Yeah.
I love that. We want to, as we go now, we want to tell all of our audience that we will be back next week for a very special show on Tuesday because it's Thanksgiving week. We won't be doing a show on Wednesday, but we will be here on Tuesday, and we hope that you'll join us then. Until then, give your kiddos a hug from me, and don't forget, I can't believe I almost forgot to say this, watch A Night of Too Many Stars on Saturday. Who knows, there might be a surprise. So definitely tune in and watch that on HBO if you can. Some money is going to be raised for autism. But I will see you back here on Tuesday. Until then, give your kiddos a hug from me and one for you too. Bye-bye for now.